Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Ambal goddess as shown by Acharyal. Our Acharyal has written many works in praise of Ambal. Other than Saundarya Lahari, Ananda Lahari, Devi Bhujangam, Tripura Sundara Manasa Puja Stotram, and Tripura Sundari Veda Pada Stavam are big ones. The smaller ones are like Annapurna Ashtakam and Amba Ashtakam. It is enough if we just keep chanting them. We can be floating in Mother's Anugraha Vatsalya. These are all in wondrous language. With no ting of pride, Acharyal praises Ambal, who is the source and depository of all power, in true sincere devotion in them. On many occasions in them, Acharyal, in all humbleness, indicates that he is the recipient of her grace despite being undeserving. Especially in Saundarya Lahari, in two places, his humility melts out hearts. In one shloka, starting with the words Drusha Dragi Yasya, he is requesting Ambal to turn her side, long glance on himself. He does not say, turn your kataksham towards me, but towards me also. In another shloka, he asks her to teach him with her two lotus feet. The shloka is the one starting with the words Dhrutina Murdhano. Here, too, he does not say, give me your pada diksha. Instead, he says, touch my head too. Mam api shirasi. It is clear that he thinks of himself a very undeserving case, whether in devotion or brains, in speech or writing, in capability or humanness, in humility or compassion and sinlessness. There was no one to match Acharyal in the past, nor is going to be anyone there in the future. Then what can be the reason for his assumed undeservedness? The only logic I can think of is that he is talking on our behalf. When we read the shloka, we should feel humble enough. He is saying so without saying it in words. When he says, Mam api, direct your side, long glance towards me too. Touch me too with your lotus feet. He is indicating to us the humbleness with which we should be making such a request. How can we ask for something when we know that we do not deserve it? Can be your question. But he describes those which do not care about our deservedness, but still shower their goodness on all. The moonlight, for example, falls on King's Palace and thorny bush in the forest with equal felicity. Like that, your flood of kataksham may fall on me too and submerge me too in its jnana prakasham and cool compassion. Similarly, when praying for the touch of Ambal's lotus feet, he says, your lotus feet, which are being borne by the Vedas as the coronet on their head, may touch my head too. If you say that my demand is unjustified, your compassion is not concerned with justification. Your compassion personified. So, please your feet on my head. Place your feet on my head too. Dayaya Dehi Charano. There is an inner meaning in saying that Mother's feet is on the head of the Vedas. Upanishads themselves have a name as the head of Vedas, Sruti Shiras. I have spoken as to how, when the Devas got too much head weight, she came as the Jnanambikai to teach them a lesson, as in Kenopanishad. Here Acharyal seems to have the incident in mind that attaining jnana can only happen with the total annihilation of ahambhava. So truly humble that he says, please grant me too a little touch of your lotus feet. For every action, as there is a direct effect, there are also some side effects. Even though they may not be intended, They just happen. In Kenopanishad, there is a direct mention of Ambal as Jnanambikai, who bestows on us the Atma Jnana. Unrelated to Jnanam and the principle of Ambal, there is a byproduct for modern day scholars. Many among the researchers claim that Parvati, Parameshwara, Vishnu, etc. are only latter day derivations. There is no mention of names and form for gods as Devatas in Vedas. Vedas were mainly concerned with the shapeless, formless principles of divinity. Names and forms are latter day additions during the period of the 18 Puranas. This is roundly refuted by what Kenopanishad says. It clearly says that when the Yaksham vanished, a woman, Uma Haimavati, appeared. By calling her a woman, it is clear that male and female forms were already acceptable as applicable for divinity even prior to the time of the Upanishad. Not stopping at calling her by just a name, Uma, the Upanishad also mentions her name as Haimavati. Himavan's daughter is Haimavati. Parvata Raja's daughter is Parvati. This is internal evidence that the story of Himavan's daughter was already in vogue and Hindu religion's idol worship is predated to the coming into being of Puranas and Upanishad. Acharyal prays for Ambal's feet to be placed on his head. This proves Ambal as Guru. Shastras affirm that Guru Padukas are ever on one's head. This means that Tiruvadi Diksha is eternally available. Diksha means the process by which Guru passes on his anugraha to the Sishya. This is of three types. Nayana Diksha is Guru's glance at the Sishya. Sparsha Diksha is by touch. Third is Mantra Upadesha. When Guru tells a mantra to the Sishya by word of mouth, the mantra could be anything such as Om Namah Shivaya or Om Namo Narayana or Shambhu Mahadeva or Sri Rama Jai Rama Jai Jai Rama and so on. Though these mantras are all powerful, mantra obtained by word of mouth from the Guru is considered to be more effective. Though Nayana Diksha and Sparsha Diksha will also do most sufficiently. Here, Perival says that Tiruvadi Diksha is ever available to every one of us all the time. Ambikai, who appears as the Jnanambikai in Kenopanishad, keeps her feet as the ornament of Veda Shiras. Acharyal further describes eloquently the greatness of her Pada Kamalam. The feet of elders, Mahatmas, Rishis and Munis are to be revered. When we do welcome such, they are supposed to be given a 16-tiered action of veneration called Shodasa plus Upacharas. Shodasa Upacharas. One of them is Padyam, that is, to clean the visitor's feet with water. As Padyam for Ambal, from Shiva's hair, Ganga Jal is ever flowing onto her feet. Though he is Pashupati, the head of all living beings, he too is paying obeisance to her as the Parabrahma Shakti or the power in being. So, when he prostrates before her, his Jadamudi touches her feet. The river Ganges, originating from his matted hair, does Padyam to her feet. After all, his power of mastership of the whole universe is also from her only. So he is also prostrating without a tinge of aham bhava. Ladies of class used to be decorated in their feet by artistic designs painted with red lac as a mark of their status. Actually, the word lac derives from the Sanskrit root word laksha, which also means mark. For decorating Ambal's feet, however, there is a different red marker. Vishnu, who is variously addressed as Hari, Narayana, etc., is also prostrating before her. After all, his rulership evolves from her power only. He is wearing his crown, in which the central gem is the Chuda money, which is a red stone, that is illuminating her feet with the red coloration, substituting the mark of lack. The decoration for his head becomes a decoration for her feet. He is also prostrating without a tinge of aham bhava. Devas, including Parameshwara and Mahavishnu, are doing namaskar to her without aham bhava. Let her be kind enough to remove our silly sense of pride too. For that purpose, we should be chanting the shlokas that Acharya has left for us as a legacy, available in print, and meditate on her feet in the Chandra Mandala. Acharya, who in many places enlarged on her being very devoted to her husband, now talks of his prostrating before her, may sound rather funny, but everything is Leela. Both are the same. Their respect for each other is mutual and reciprocal. We have to think of him as the peaceful being or Shanta Sat and her as true awareness or Satya Chit, and think of both of them together as Sat plus Chit plus Anandam or Satchidanandam. In the very first shloka of Saundarya Lahari, starting with the words Shiva Saktya Yukto Yadi Bhavati Shakta, he says, Amma Shakti, Parmeshwara Shiva himself is capable of any movement only when he is with you. Without you, he is incapable. Since it is everything, Brahman is not capable of knowing anything. Still, in this world, there is so much knowledge and movement. In the entire cosmos, starting from the movement of stars and galaxies down to the oscillations of the electrons, everything is ever moving. Then we note that our minds are forever oscillating. All this knowledge and movements seems to have come into Brahman somehow. When we separately identify Brahman as Shivam and Shakti, then Acharya's statement, Amma, it is you who is making Shiva move, becomes meaningful. The world that is not there is from her only. Ya Ma means that which is not is Maya, that is Maya. It is again she who can remove Maya from our minds. All the seen world is her doing or herself. Still, when our minds become still, in some special rupa of ours, dhyanam or meditation is effective. The vast, wide, shapeless space that accommodates all that is seemingly there is also our prana shakti or breath. Space, air, fire, water, and earth are all herself or her forms. The manas or mind is also her. Acharya says so in the shloka starting with the words Manastvam Vyomatvam. In a prayer shloka starting with the words Shariram Tvam, he says that night and day are her forms only. In day, the sun's rays give all the energy for all earth. All plants synthesize chlorophyll from sunlight only. All food is from that. All living things either eat plants or plant products, vegetarian, or eat the flesh of those animals that eat the plants and plant products. Though normally the flesh of carnivorous animals are not preferred as food. In the night, the moon showers its own nourishment, though not yet identified by science. Night and day, sun and moon are also her forms only. As per Mantra Shastra, Kundalini Shakti, which starts from the lower tip of the spinal cord, Mooladhara, and rises to the top of the head, Sahasra Dala Padma, is as supple and delicate as the thread-like thing of the lotus plant stem. Lalita Sahasranamam calls it Bisadhantu Taniyasi, Though very subtle, it is as brilliant as 10 million suns and as cool as equal number of moons. Other than all shapes and forms, she is also all sounds, speech, and thoughts, especially mantra rupas or esoteric chants are also her forms. These are subtle forms. For common people like us, she is in sthula rupa or gross forms as Lalita, Durga, Bhuvaneshwari, and so many more. These forms, visible to our eyes in many sacred temples and holy places as the ever beneficent Vigraha Murtis, are energizing and ennobling millions of devotees. In North Himachal, born as the Parvata Rajakumari, she is showering her largesse as Kanyakumari in deep south, known as Bhagavati in Kerala, Chamundeshwari in Karnataka, Kamakshi in Kanchipuram, Meenakshi in Madurai, Gyanambal in Kalahasti, Brahmarambika in Srishailam, Tulja Bhavani in Maharashtra, Ambaji in Gujarat, Jwalamukhi in Punjab, Vindhyavasini in Uttar Pradesh, Vaishnavi in Katra Jammu, Kshira Bhavani in Kashmir, Kali in Bengal, Maihar Devi in Madhya Pradesh, Kamakhya in Assam. She has taken many shapes and forms for sake of the common folks. The list being evidently incomplete, she is forever showering her blessings on all of us in the entire length and breadth of what is India. Life's difficulties are also Ambal's compassion. We say that Ambal is love and kindness personified. At the end of Lalita Sahasranamam, one of the 1,000 names is Avyaja Karunamurti, meaning loving without logic. But the world is full of problems. I only know as to how many different varieties of problems, worries, irritations, threats, and uncertainties can be there. Whosoever comes to me and opens his or her heart in the fond hope of relief, reveal that they are full of woes. More pious have more problems. Some of them tell me, I have done so many pujas, visited so many temples, been to so many stations of religious importance, have bathed in so many sacred rivers and temple tanks, then why should I be tried like this? Ambal keeps on giving me more and more of the same dose of difficulties. I do not see as to how people call her the Karuna Murti, whereas she either does not notice my existence or has only problems in store for me. Thus, they get even annoyed with Ambal. But if you ask me, I'll say that to give us troubles is also her grace. Come to think of it, this is greater kindness. We bemoan our bad luck, thinking of only the good things that we have done in this life and feel cheated. But however good we might have been, we have a tendency to skip over our own faults. If we impartially analyze ourselves, we will become aware of our own faults and errors of omission and commission. That is this life. How about our previous lives that we are happily unaware of? You reap as you sow is an inviolable law of nature. Ambal has ordained so. We have sown in our previous lives the effects of which we are harvesting now. If we get to know about the sins of our own past, we are likely to change our attitude completely. Then we are likely to feel chastened that in all this, the fact that she has enabled us to even think of her by itself is her extreme kindness. Even though we deserve to be roundly punished, she has many bountiful with her blessings. Then to doubt her kindness was as good as adding insult to injury. We were only piling up the demerits by trying to find faults with mother. The child eats sand. Mother ties up the child's hands with a cloth. The child feels bad. What mother is this? She has no kindness. She is my worst enemy, feels the child. Is it without reason that she tied up the child? Was the child not its own enemy? What ignorance then to think of the mother as the worst enemy. However big we are like that child only. The punishment she makes out for our past sins is keeping us tied down. We do not have the power to untie ourselves. Then we blame her for keeping us tied down. Like the child trying to eat mud, we tend to repeat our past mistakes. She has tied our hands to prevent us from repeating our sins. Faced with problems, we should think instead on the following lines. This is happening due to our past. So, if we continue to persevere with our errant behavior, we will face more and more of the problems in the future too. Let us draw a line somewhere. Let us pray to her to give us better sense. When we enjoy the pleasures of life, do we have a sense of gratitude, especially when undeserving? If we are blessed with benefits, we call it avyaja karuna. Problems and difficulties we face are also her karuna with reason. This is to correct us from errant behavior. What we consider as good for us may create many avoidable problems. So, her karuna as a corrective is better than being flooded with seeming good things of life. We neither know the past nor the future, but knowledge is rather limited. So, when faced with difficulties, we think of them as bad. If we can have a wider perspective, we will see that she never does anything bad to us. A man loaded his donkey with a sack of salt and went to a fair. Earlier on that was the mode of carriage. On the way there was torrential rains. All the salt melted. The trader got very annoyed with God. He thought, this is injustice. I am a poor trader. Why should there have been unseasonal rains like this? I will not pray to God anymore. He turned back to his village. The path was through a forest. There were thieves waiting in ambush. Those days, they used to have guns in which gunpowder would be filled in from the muzzle end. The thieves would fire a few random shots, and all the traders would drop their bags of belongings and take to heels. But this time, due to rains, the gunpowder was soggy, wet, and did not fire. Instead of the traders, it is the thieves who got panicky and took to their heels, dropping their guns. Now, the trader about whom I told you earlier thought, thank God, rain caused only some loss of salt, but it has saved my life. O God, I shall never in future forget you. When we do not know the past and future, ours is a narrow vision. The fact of our narrow vision also is her play only. Even when we do not know the past and future, look at the level of our ahankara and pride. I do not know as to what will be our behavior. If we become Trikala Gyani, knowing past, present, and future, possibly once we have that power and know that others do not have it, we may misuse such powers as many do. Then such a person is likely to think no end of his self. His nuisance quotient may reach unmanageable proportions. So, our not knowing the past, present, and future may the best for us. At least we can know that we do not know. Let us trust those seers or visionaries who tell us everything happens for the good. In the past, present, and future, there has to be a reason why we face difficulties. If we are to avoid that in the future and find the way of redemption, she is the way. Ambal is not sadistic. We should never think so. She is forever our friend, guide, father, and mother too. Om Shri Mahapiriva Sharanam.